Hi, I'm Kaylee.
And I'm Dan.
And we're made to wander.
More. And today we want to talk to you about one of the tougher topics in travel, which is wildfires, specifically the wildfires in the American West, and how to plan for and around them. As sad as it is, you kind of always have to consider this now when you're planning a trip out to California or anywhere out west between July and October, because this is now a season annual kind of thing. This has affected most of our recent trips. Like, we had to delay a trip to Lake Tahoe. We kind of canceled a trip to Clear Lake, and we are now planning accordingly for our trip to Yellowstone National Park next week. So exciting.
Absolutely, yeah. So unfortunately, this is a real thing, and it's not just about where the wildfires are, it's also about what the air quality that they create is, and that can be many, many miles away. So what we want to talk to you about today in this episode is how to find out where the wildfires themselves are, what the air quality is in the area that you're planning on going, and when to unfortunately plan on actually canceling or at least delaying your trip because of those two factors. So here we go.
Now, where are the fires? So at the time of filming, which is end of August 2021, they actually stretch from California all the way out to Minnesota. And there are a few sites that are tracking the fires and give you the information to look it up, but it's a little bit tricky because they're mostly tracked on a state-by-state level. So a good tip here is to just look up the specific sites for the state that you're planning to visit. Now, if you're planning on coming to California, I think the most popular and common site is fire.airnow.gov, and there's a few more sites that we'll all put links in the description below. Just one more thing on this topic. When you are planning your trip, even if there isn't a fire in the immediate area that you're planning to go, it could still really impact the air quality, even if the fires are miles away. So keep that in mind.
And also, if you're coming from far away, there's plenty of fires that don't get national coverage or international coverage for that matter. So it's a good idea to check these sites before you definitely get on a plane to come out. Because again, at the time of filming, I think there are 10 or 12 active CAL FIRE incidents, when really I think the Dixie fire is probably the one that's covered the most at the national level. So just want to make sure that everybody has the information that they need to stay safe and healthy and also out of the way of the first responders. But as Dan was saying, the second biggest thing in checking when you're preparing to go is not just whether there's an active incident going on or fire, but also what the air quality is, right? Because especially if you're planning on going on a nature-heavy vacation or really a vacation that needs you to be outside at all, the air quality is going to impact you. So we want to tell you a little bit about how to track that. So the first thing is on your phone. So if you have an iPhone, that's good news because the native weather app, which we'll bring up on the screen here, actually has an air quality index widget now included in it. So typically what you'll do is you'll log on to the app, you'll scroll down just past the bottom of the weekly that it previews, and there will be a little bar there that's color coded and goes from green all the way to like a deep maroon purplish color. And that's going to be the AQI, the air quality index. And it's actually coming from a site called Breezometer. I don't know how to say. I don't know how they pronounce it, but whatever. It doesn't matter. It's Breezometer, and they also have their own app. So if you really want to geek out about this, or if you're actually in an area where you can't leave and you do need to track air quality all the time, that's a good app to have on your phone. One cool thing that Apple is doing or this weather app is doing, is that if the air quality is getting really bad, like it is in Lake Tahoe right now, sadly, they will put that part of the app at the top. For the past few days, it's been in the purple zone, which is super bad. It's actually been in the maroon zone, like worst air quality you can have, all the way up at 500. We'll explain that in a second, in Lake Tahoe. So when you actually pull up the weather for Lake Tahoe, the first thing you see is the air quality index instead of even the temp or whether it's sunny or cloudy, because it doesn't matter because you shouldn't go outside, and that's what they're trying to tell you. So if the AQI bar is at the top, you probably should consider turning around right away or not getting on the plane. Because they're trying to tell you like, hey, this is a serious thing. In fact, we have some new neighbors right now who have actually just moved in because they needed to escape the area from air quality alone. So it's very serious. Regardless of whether you're using Brisometer or there are a couple of others like airnow.gov, I think we'll link it again in the description, and sparetheair.org. There's a couple of them out there. So if you just search like air quality forecasting, then it will get you there. But those Brisometer is definitely a good one to use, and you can see it not only for your location, but it also gives you a map. The last thing we wanted to talk to you about in terms of air quality is what those levels are. So it's a color-coded bar, so it's meant to be, sort of intuitive, and green means go, green is good. That's anywhere from 0 to I think about 50, and that's really like just good air quality. In fact, it can go over 50 just from normal air pollution. Like I was looking the other day, the air quality in Sarasota was worse than it was here in San Francisco, even though we're obviously way closer to the fires. I think Sarasota just had like a bad pollution day. So they were like in the 60s and we were in the 40s. So like 50, but just because it's in the yellow zone, which is above 50 and before 100, it doesn't mean that it's like you need to freak out and like cancel all your plans. It just means that like there's something impacting the air quality. Brisometer will tell you what the pollutant is, just in case like you have like a specific sensitivity to a certain pollutant. Anyway, but then above that is kind of when you get into the danger zones. So above 100 is going to be orange, 150 I think is red, and then I don't actually know what the thresholds are for purple and maroon, but basically like red is bad, right? So like orange is like if you have previous health risks, or if you have sensitivities, or if you're planning on going out for a run, like it's probably not going to be a fun time for you. You're probably going to feel some things. I would definitely feel some things in my lungs. But it could be like, okay, maybe, I don't know. I'm not a scientist. Please don't, I don't want to give any help, but orange is the middle. And then red, purple, and maroon are bad. So the tricky thing with this is that air quality can change literally on a dime. So like I was saying, most of the last week in South Lake Tahoe, it was up at 500. And then on Friday or Saturday, it took a dive down to 190, which is still real bad. It's still not I still feel for everyone who's out in Tahoe right now. The reality is like that's a really big change in the air quality index. And it's because of wind, right? And so I guess I'm saying that mostly because if your trip is planned to be in like 2 weeks and you're seeing that the air quality today is at like 120, maybe you should keep an eye on it, because there's a chance that it could go down, depending on how big the fire is, how close it is, all of that kind of stuff. So this brings us to when to consider canceling.
Right, so when should you actually consider canceling or at the very least delaying your trip? Well, I mean, the most obvious one is if there's an active fire in the actual area that you're planning to vacation in, then, I mean, there's no point in going because A, everything will probably be shut anyways. People will be evacuating the area, so they will most likely evacuate you as well. And then you're just interrupting emergency response and local response teams, so there's really no point in going to those areas. Quick note on the side here, because we also have a drone channel with lots of drone footage, and if you do have a drone and you happen to be in an area, please don't fly a drone and try to get footage of the fires and whatnot. It just like stops all emergency efforts. No planes, helicopters, nothing can fly while you're out there trying to get footage, so you're literally preventing those fires from getting stopped. Don't be an idiot. Don't fly your drone anywhere near those areas. So in terms of air quality in general, I would say if the air quality is above 150, or at the very least, we'll put up a chart up on screen, but if it's above 150 or 200, it's time to seriously consider canceling a trip. Unless like you're really okay with just spending your entire trip inside a hotel that hopefully also has an air purifier and you're not wanting to go outside at all. But given that it is a summer vacation that you're probably planning, it's probably best to either go somewhere else or delay your trip significantly. If you do end up going, I mean, again, if it's above 200, please don't go, there's no point. But if it's like between 100 and 200, one thing that really does help apparently is the N95 mask that we're all way too familiar with now these days.
True. And if you're going somewhere and it's unclear, right? Like we said, I mean, these things can change very quickly. So, you know, let's say you're taking a road trip, you're in, you know, and it's like 3 or 4 days away, and right now the air quality has been between 100 and 150, and you're just not sure. If you're going to be staying in an Airbnb, one thing I would recommend is just reaching out to your host and seeing if they do have an air purifier in the unit. Most people out here now do, which is really good. And sad also at the same time, but it's just one thing that could give you a little bit of peace of mind. They're really helpful and effective. So yeah, that's just like a tiny tip. And final note, since this whole thing is about wildfires, we did want to give you a couple of local organizations that we found that we like to contribute to on both supporting the firefighting efforts and also on wildfire prevention in general. I hope it goes without saying, we can all try to do our part when it comes to prevention, even if it seems like as obvious as not lighting fires in the middle of a dry forest, but also things like conserving water. Like out here in Marin, we're on a water conservation plan right now because of the drought. So, you know, every little bit helps. I know it might not seem like it, but it really does. So thanks everyone for doing your part. And for those organizations that I mentioned, we're going to link them in the description as well below. So anyway, this is not, you know, a great topic, but it's a reality, and it's something that we actively plan for all the time now that we are currently living out here. And so we just wanted to share some of the resources and thinking that we use anytime we are planning on going somewhere, because it's important to stay safe and also to stay out of the way of, like we said, the first responders. Let them do their jobs, make sure the communities can be evacuated safely, all of that kind of thing. It's serious, and we just, again, wanted to make sure you had the tools that you might need too. So if you liked this video, please do the whole YouTube thing, like, subscribe, and all the good stuff. We are heading to Yellowstone next weekend, which we're super excited about. So that's the next topic that we'll be talking to you about. And yeah, we hope this helps. That's really the point of this.
Thank you guys so much for watching, and we'll see you next week.
Have fun out there and stay safe. Bye.
Bye.